Happy Tuesday, Reject Nation. It's Greg Alba here.
I'm John Humphrey.
Man buns.
Man's in the
How you
buns.
gonna name yourself after a gun when you got a man bun? Macklemore, he's a great rapper. We're gonna watch today from Screen Junkies, Honest Trailers, one of my all-time favorite shows. I haven't seen this show in a few years, but I actually watched a couple episodes like a month ago, just for fun. Batman, the animated series. I'm very excited. I had no idea they were working on this. I'm very excited for it. Speaking of Screen Junkies, I'm actually going back there on the 29th for movie fights. Joe Starr, who hates reactions, happy to be doing this.
Look, I hate trailer reaction videos. I think they're really fake.
Hit me up and said you want to come back on. Been on movie fights 3 times this year. I've won 2 out of 3. Let's see if I can do 3 out of 4. 29th of November, so keep a lookout for that one, guys. But before we hop into this, I wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who's been following us at our Patreon page. We've been posting so much over there. The main things that we do are weekly Q&As, and we also do TV show reactions for many shows. That includes anime like My Hero Academia, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Attack on Titan. Almost at season 3, one more episode to go. And then, of course, we do some live action as like Riverdale, Gotham, Batman, and Supernatural. And John does a lot of music video coverage. We have some shows that are already complete, and then we post a bunch of stuff over there. So go check out our Patreon page and see if you want to become a Patron Jack today. Enough BS promoting movie fights and Patreon pages.
Let's move
and
on
Eminem.
Let's move on to the BM instead of the BS. Batman.
Good.
Bullman. Bat shit.
Oh, this is short. It's only 7 minutes.
Oh, good.
Before he was swole, before he was existentially depressed, and before he was a cartoon.
Never leave the cave without him.
He was a swole, existentially depressed cartoon in Batman, the animated series.
Never forget that intro.
Returned to a time when pop culture wasn't oversaturated with superheroes.
They sell t-shirts of me. I've become a cliche.
Animation still ruled after school. And dial-up internet gave us a few precious minutes offline.
Nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
And spend some time with Kevin Conroy's iconic Bruce Wayne, an industrialist with the money of Tony Stark and the fashion sense of Dwight Schrute. But when night falls, this punchaholic will become the Batman, the world's greatest detective, who's also the world's greatest ninja.
Oh.
Greatest hacker.
I've accessed Gotham's electrical mainframe. There's another computer uplinked to this one. I'm tracing the link now.
Greatest magician.
You've got the makings of a great magician.
And the greatest ventriloquist?
When I studied with Zatara the magician, he taught me about ventriloquism.
Wow, this Batman does a lot.
There's
but
already
does
more.
he dance?
Oh, man.
Escape isn't crusading solo. He has a whole cave full of allies, like Alfred Pennyworth, butler of Batman, but king of sick burns.
Clayface is losing his integrity.
I wasn't aware that he ever had any to begin with.
Robin, the boy wonder, as in, boy, I wonder what's screwed him up between this show and Titans.
Fuck Batman.
Batgirl, a college kid whose relationship with bats is super creepy after you've seen the Killing Joke
That's
movie.
a great movie.
Yes.
Come in.
100% made that.
Ew. And Commissioner Gordon,
Terrible
a
film.
humble civil servant tormented by a billionaire psychopath determined to drive him insane.
Batman.
Busy night.
Helen, get me.
Now it's Halloween.
Yes.
Enigma's making a comeback.
This is a funny ass bit.
Come on, give me a break, Bats. You're a ninja. You don't have to keep proving it to Grandpa Cop, all right? Jeez. Together, they'll protect Gotham, a city trapped somewhere between 1932 and 1992. A town where the crime is up, the nights are long, and the people are rectangles. It's a city under siege from the best rogues gallery in animation history,
Oh, yeah.
featuring character-defining portrayals of Two-Face,
You're talking to the wrong Harvey.
Mr. Freeze,
To never again walk on a summer's day with a hot wind in your face.
and a warm hand to hold.
Harley Quinn,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
the best Joker ever. Yeah, I said it. And
You
the
know,
bad
it's hard to
menageries
argue
worth
that.
of animals.
Oh man, I forgot how many animals he fucked up. And bet.
Geez, Batman, maybe you should stick to something less threatening, like a penguin.
That was easy.
Okay.
So light up the bat signal and revisit the highs.
I am vengeance.
I am the Knight. I am Batman.
And the
They're gonna cut it
lows
there for some.
Made her a monster. I believe she would disagree.
of the darkest adaptation of Batman ever made.
Oh,
Literally
man.
the darkest. Because they drew it on black paper that wasn't afraid to hit kids with complex philosophy.
Santayana says that those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it.
Then break it up with a guy kicking a werewolf in the face.
The fight you're looking for, try starting one with me.
CDC, that's all we want. A definitive portrait of a beloved character that balances multiple tones across dozens of hours that can only happen with a perfect creative team and lands at the perfect time in the cultural zeitgeist. Is that so hard? Starring hygiene-related insults.
Listen up, scumwad. Here's how it works, slime ball. Right, scum bucket. Too late, dirtbag.
Breaking and entering.
What do you want?
Has Professor Crane lost his appetite?
Who's back there?
You.
Just terrible marksmanship.
Yeah.
Dude, it's Batman. All superheroes are kind of terrible marksmanship. Daredevil counters it too.
Oh yeah.
Maniacal laughter.
Roz. Raish.
Raz Al Ghul.
Batman's O-face. Gas attacks.
Wow.
Damn. I do recall a fair few gas attacks on the show.
Gotham City exploding.
Yeah.
That's a good show, man.
And everything you wanted.
Stop shooting, you lunatic! We're sitting on a powder tank!
And Batman thumbs up.gif. Nope, the other one. That's the one.
Shit.
This Batman, forever. Okay, we need to talk about the intro for a sec. Has anyone else noticed that the crooks are just two guys who happen to be walking past the bank at night? Then when the entrance explodes, they run away like any sane person would do? They don't even have any loot on them. Sure, fine, they pull guns on Batman, but for all they know, he's the psycho going around blowing up banks. And Batman doesn't know who did it either. He had to drive there. But does that stop him from beating the crap out of him and leaving him for the cops without any evidence to convict him on? This is why vigilantes are a bad idea, you guys.
Interesting.
And 5 times into a mirror. Spooky, scary skeletons send shivers down my spine. Who will survive, and what will be left of them?
Texas Chainsaw.
Eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so
Bane.
little time.
Eon Flux.
I once wrote a Batman poem based off of the show.
I recall this
Yeah, that's
poem.
a good poem.
It's a good poem.
I'm a dark knight, bat fright out of your sight and into the night.
You need to put some like Tom Waits style like weird carnival music underneath it and just release it as your first solo.
I think it works better as spoken word.
No, exactly. I'm saying do the spoken word just over top of some kind of weird musical backdrop.
I have a license to vengeance to aid in your sentence. Oh yeah, I still got some of it in my noggin.
Oh yeah, dude.
And
That's
I ended it with that famous Batman quote. I am vengeance. I am the night.
I
I'm
am.
Batman. I'm the Dark Knight.
You gotta add your little button on the end of it there. You gotta add your own stamp.
But a penguin belongs in the water. I'll put you away in Arkham forever.
I'll chase the grace and rid the evil in the two-face.
You know, you can punch up if you got to do what you
Wish
got.
I just said I was freestyling.
No. You got to go back.
So sad I made that like years ago.
Nah, dude, it's the early days, man. Now you got to go back, write a new Batman rap, updated to incorporate all the new Batman stuff you've taken in since then. It's gonna be great, dude.
My favorite bit about this Honest trailer was the Jim Gordon part.
Yeah, Batman's always scary.
I've never heard of that joke. Of like, he's an old man, you're gonna give this guy a heart attack one day. Just stop sneaking up on him for no real reason. Just stop it.
And choosing so many, like, you know, fragments of scenes and out of context moments, like, you do realize how sinister Batman is often drawn in the show. And yeah, it always does look like he is actually trying to creep up on Commissioner Gordon. I gotta admire them whenever they do something like this, because I'm like, this must have taken forever. Granted, you know, I'm sure that the staff, as opposed to like the Doctor Who ones, I'm sure the staff had a bit more of like a background knowledge already, but just to go through and compile those moments.
It's also a lot less episodes.
That is, it's not going for 100 years.
22 minutes long. It's not as challenging. Still challenging. I think for an honest trailer like this, what Screen Junkies does, you gotta make sure you find this right blend, because it's like, yeah, you gotta make fun of it. You gotta point out the goofy things about it.
And like, all the tropes and stuff.
Yeah, but you also gotta point out stuff of why it's cool. And I think they did a great job at balancing both sides of showing, like, this really is the darkest version of Batman. Like, the episode I watched a month ago or something was the one where the Mad Hatter, I'm kind of giving away the twist if you haven't seen the episode. The Mad Hatter, he kidnaps Batman. I mean, we don't know this till the very end, but he's in this like alternate world where someone else is Batman and he's just Bruce Wayne. His parents have been around, but it's still like, he still remembers being Batman though. So he's really confused about the world he's in. Has he just been delusional? And it's a really interesting psychological exploration of what if Bruce Wayne had just been Bruce Wayne and his really boring life. He's just rich and living.
The worst episode of the show.
Yeah, I mean, this show tended to go quite nightmarish. Honestly, my main incentive to get the DC streaming service is to get this, but I think they, like, as of today, I think they just re-released it on Blu-ray, where it's like upgraded quality, of course, and I hear it's pretty much night and day in terms of how much better it looks. I own all the seasons on DVD, but I've heard that the quality they remastered it is just amazing.
Yeah, I don't need like the sharpest clarity for a lot of things, but I do feel like hand-drawn animation especially looks amazing when they restore it and all that stuff. Like, because the art in this show is also really beautiful, and yeah, like, it is super dark, and this is kind of where the bedrock of things like Gotham City come from in my mind.
I wish they talked about Mask of the Phantasm, even though I know that came out a year into the animated series being out. Even if you haven't seen the animated series and you want to see if it's something for you, I think the Mask of the Phantasm movie is something you should totally check out if you're looking, if you haven't seen the show, because there's still plenty of people who haven't seen this animated series. But to me, it's the best animated series of all time. We had a question, one of our Q&As on Patreon was about what show do I think from the 90s could be revived and still work.
There's only one show from my childhood I think could be brought back, wouldn't be fucking weird, and you can continue it, make it work, keep the fans happy. There's only one show. There's only one show. One show. Friends.
My answer was Batman the Animated Series. Each episode does feel like a graphic novel with continuations in them, but it wasn't as hyper serialized as most shows are today, even though it still is serialized. You know, like how epic voice guy John Bailey points out here. And a lot of people still consider Mark Hamill's the Joker the best version. Mm-hmm. He can still play it. He still sometimes does. Like between the games, the animated movies,
excellent Killing Joke movie.
And Kevin Conroy as what's to stop them from bringing it back and having the same voice actors come back? I mean, this show birthed Harley Quinn.
It did, yeah.
And
she's bigger than ever now. About to get her own
series of movies. Comes out and like, we're doing the whole franchise now off of her. Yeah,
we're doing a whole bunch of Harley Quinn joints. Here we go.
And that direct inspiration, it comes from the show, you know? I don't think it's a perfect series. There's aspects of it that do feel dated. It was a really rather mature cartoon. And that's why I think this Honest Trailer does this so well, because they point out how sometimes it was a wacky cartoon.
Yeah.
And then there are other times where it was a really deep, mature cartoon.
I feel like this show and a number of others came around at a fascinating time for, programming aimed at kids, because, you would get kind of a weird oscillation between really whimsical stuff and and then stuff that is, surprisingly either intense or scary or just mature thematically. I mean, the show exemplifies that as well. I mean, I'm almost curious to go back and think, oh, I was allowed to watch this when I was like, 8 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
When I was like really little. Essentially, because there's just like guns, like just people unloading machine guns like all over the place, which at the time I don't think I would have thought about, but now,
Can't go over everything the show covers or introduces to the world. They did introduce my favorite, like Nightwing is my favorite comic book character. That, like, in terms of comics I've actually read, Nightwing is my favorite. And Nightwing does appear, I think, in the very last season of this show. But my favorite Robin is Tim Drake, and this show introduced me to who Tim Drake was.
Oh, damn.
Before I ever read of him in any comic book. This show has introduced me to a hell of a lot, and it is the defining one, and I can't argue with anyone who thinks this is the best Batman or the best Joker by any stretch. You know?
Yeah. Quite honestly, you could probably just get them both to do it in a live action setting, and it would probably work. If you wanted to. Get Kevin Conroy to bulk up, and then, all Mark Hamill has to do is put on some crazy makeup,
One thing this Honest Trailer also really pointed out in such a clever way, it did everything that we want DC to do now. They had that really great joke here about like the run-on sentence.
All you have to do is be the perfect combination of tones with like a
the
great
timing
creative
of where
team.
the world's at and everything like that. The great creative team and expand over this period of time. But also just with its opening line about like before he was swole, before he was oppressed. And as I am doing this, I'm seeing that as the top of the description box here. It's actually, they didn't even realize
Before he was a cartoon, he was a swole, depressed cartoon.
They did all the things that we kind of joke about or whatever, but they did it all in one, and it was seamless. So,
oh yeah, I mean, Batman's Batman, but this is arguably a definitive Batman.
Absolutely.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Your clues are remiss. You must mistake me for a dingbat.
All right, well, thanks, Screen Junkies. I'll see you guys on the 29th. Movie fights. Yay. I love prepping for movie fights. Oh, yeah. The day before is always just a smooth evening of no stress and no research and no prepping. Just chilling, smoking,
watching unrelated movies.
Yeah, no, I know everything already, and I'm relying purely on instinct on this one.
And I'm not helping at all.
No, and I don't ask John for any help on anything. Before we wrap this up, I want to give a patron of the day shout out to a man named Daniel Gallagher. Daniel Gallagher is a man all the way from Scotland, a 23-year-old. Recently, we've been talking, like, he's one of the few people I talk with about Better Call Saul. He loves that show. I am slowly making my way through that series, and he's someone who's always encouraged me to watch it, while I am encouraging him to continue my favorite show of all time, Friends. So we have a really good rapport, a really good back and forth. Since it's Halloween, we were talking recently, he was also telling me about how he's been catching up on some movies, some great horror movies that I love. Cape Fear, The Shining, the original Psycho. Yeah. So Daniel, I'm glad you're doing well. Hope you're having a happy Halloween in Scotland. And hopefully you're all dressed up as Americans as your costumes, because that's the real thing you want to do.
Yeah, wearing jeans and button-down plaids.
It's all America, right?
Right, we just wear jeans. Look at the brawny
Look at
man.
us. Yeah.
Us.
All right, guys. Well, you can subscribe to the Reject Nation. Click that notification bell. And check us on Patreon. TV show reactions, Q&As, a lot of goodies. Yay.
It's hard to block the strength of CROC, but I've been trained, I've obtained skills that cannot be explained.